So this is Keirton. A lot of growers in BC were very reliant for many, many years on their trimming machines to produce BC bud. But now, Keirton's scaled up and they've made some beautiful machines for large-scale production of cannabis. Let's go check out what the Twister Trimmer team looks like. Hey Brent, good to meet you.
You too.
Awesome, you're one of the engineers here at Keirton.
Yep, been here for about 4 years.
Cool, and how much has legalization changed the industry?
In Canada, it's huge. It's gone from people kind of wanting smaller machines to people wanting giant machines. So it definitely changed our mindset and the way we design things.
And you've been at the forefront of that, obviously.
Every step of the way.
Awesome, let's go check them out.
Awesome, let's go.
Cool. So where are we right now?
So this is basically the testing area of the Keirton office, mostly for the T0. The recent R&D there, a lot of these have already been kind of established.
Beautiful. So now we got the T0, the BatchOne, the T2, the T4, and the T6. What happened to 3 and 5?
We'll have to wait and see.
Okay.
There's room for them, whether they'll exist or not.
Okay.
Stuff's coming down the pipeline all the time.
So customers always have this debate. Dry trim versus wet trim, hand trim versus machine trim. What are the stats on that?
So really, it's mostly preference and how you plan on harvesting.
Okay.
So trimming wet, definitely easier from a logistics standpoint. So all you do, cut the plant down, put it in our machines, that's it. Drying, on the other hand, a little bit more of an art to it, but with that, you can actually make the machines run faster and you get a better smelling product at the end.
Okay.
So when you cut wet, it actually does a thing called cauterizes. So much similar to like when you cut your grass, that weird smell that you get.
Yeah.
So that smell is actually a defense mechanism from the grass telling all the other blades of grass, like, watch out, you're about to get cut. And that's exactly what's happening with the cannabis too. So that's why you get a little bit of a darker color, you get a little bit of a weirder nose on it.
Yeah.
With that being said, after you cure it, and if you cure it right, most of that goes away and you still have a really good product.
Have you guys done testing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing is that sometimes the hand trimming has higher potency, sometimes the machine trimming has higher potency.
There's lots of variables. There could be a 10% swing.
Exactly.
If you have a large garden, you cannot have the manpower or the workforce to handle
Exactly.
hundreds of people doing this. So how long has Twister been in the industry?
So we've been selling machines since 2007.
So 2007, that's a very long time for the cannabis space because it's an up and coming industry. And you keep coming out with new innovative products and you've had to evolve to be able to actually bring out products like the T0.
Exactly.
So if I'm a bud, can you put me through the workflow of how I end up getting trimmed? What happens?
Right. So basically the bud would come in through here. It would then start tumbling through this. This is what we call a tumbler. Basically what it is a tube with slots in it. What those slots are for the leaves to go through.
Yeah.
But essentially what happens is the vacuum will suck the leaf through, the blade will cut it, and then that will get taken off into our cyclone there, which will give you trim to extract.
Oh, nice.
Now you can open it up. So basically the way this works, there's two halves to it essentially.
Yeah.
Narrow is 3/16 of an inch wide. This one is a 1/4 inch slot, so this is our standard.
Do you find the wider the slot, the more flower you lose?
For dry, yes. So like in general, like dry trimming, we would not suggest that.
So what temperature do you recommend doing your trimming at?
When I train, I will say as cold as your employees are willing to sit in. So
Okay.
like in a perfect ideal world, the bud would be coming in at like 1 degree and leaving at 1/2 degree, like not frozen. Obviously the second you freeze it, that's really bad.
Yeah.
That's a perfect world situation. That's not real. Obviously that's not gonna happen. In general, we suggest around 15 degrees Celsius.
Okay, so the warmer it is, obviously, the trichome itself just melts.
Yeah, it's like, it turns into more like a syrupy goo rather than like
Yeah.
a sand.
Yeah. One of the things I'm fascinated by is the AI component. I like the fact that you guys are looking at AI as a viable option to be able to identify one nugget out of thousands that might have mold on it.
Exactly. So like a lot of people are against AI because it's taking away jobs, but in this scenario, this is literally preventing somebody from smoking moldy weed. Like,
And that's really cool that you guys are thinking that far down the road.
hopefully soon we'll have something to show.
Super exciting. And you heard it here first on Growing Exposed. There you go. All right, let's go check out this bad boy behind us. What is that?
All right, so let's start over at the cyclone. Basically, the trim will come out through the machine. It will start cycling around the cyclone, and then it will get dropped out onto this conveyor. There is a little bit of keef and stuff that will get through, but very little. So yeah, let's pop that open there.
Crazy looking.
So
that's the actual cyclone in there.
that's the actual cyclone. This little disc is the magic maker. It kind of breaks a vortex. So basically what's going on is you have spinning going like this. What this does is it stops air from trying to get pushed back. So then you just end up with products spinning at the end over and over and over again.
And then obviously vortex, keef.
Keef goes down through there.
Drops onto a bucket.
Pre-roll. Whatever you want.
And those are obviously 3-phase crazy motors. Look at, I mean.
Yeah, you need a 80 amp, 3-phase, 480 volt series.
Yeah. So basically a small town power.
It's not that bad, but yeah, it's not a toy. It's not a toy. There actually was one customer. I think they got the problem solved, but for the first little bit, they actually had to turn off some of their lights to be able to run this thing.
Seriously, yeah. So now BatchOne.
So as we're looking in here, what you can see from the top is this is what we call a tensioning mechanism. This is the tumbler, obviously, similar to many other machines. And this is a brush. So if you look through the bottom, there's basically a plastic sheet that comes all the way around, and that's really what does all the cutting. And then as that's going around, the buds are also bouncing on each other, and that's helping with the trim because you have really flaky leaves when you're at that dry level.
It's a very disco-looking machine, and the fit and finish is gorgeous on this unit. I mean, how much maintenance is involved in this machine?
Pretty much nothing. Probably need to replace the saddle every once in a while, but honestly, if you keep everything clean, it'll last a long time.
So this BatchOne is the only one that kind of runs its own rules.
Some people don't want to have a crew of 5 people or however many people you need to trim. This one, you only need 1. Fill it up, walk away. They can do other stuff while this is trimming, and then they just come back and put it in a bin, and you're done.
Amazing. Let's go check out the T2 now.
Awesome. So moving up the line, we have this machine here. This is the first machine we ever built, so 14 years ago, this is what we started selling.
When it first came to market, it came exactly like this to one of our retail stores called Pacific Northwest Garden Supply. The owner of the company came and said, "Hey, what do you think?" And I said, "You know, I don't see somebody spending that amount of money." There were other trimmers on the market at the time. They were, you know, substantially less expensive. It's so beautifully made, but I just don't see people buying them. I was just blown away, and then all of a sudden it started gaining momentum and market share, and I'm like, wow, people are willing to spend that money, and there is that much profit to be made in cannabis.
Exactly.
Let's take a look at one of my favorite machines. This is the T4.
Yeah, so this here is by far our most popular machine. As you can see, it's also gone through a few upgrades and iterations. First thing that we did was this trim saver.
How much of the trim are you saving?
I believe we've done some testing and it's around 97%.
Okay.
You will get a little bit of keef through the end. So like when you think of how these machines literally work, it's the probability of a leaf going through the hole and getting cut.
Yeah.
So like as these are tumbling around, it's all just a chance that it's gonna hit it. So if you think about putting a card through a bike spoke, if it's going really slow, you can fit that card through quite far before it kind of flaps.
Yeah.
But the faster you go, it eventually gets to the point where you're kind of just doing this.
Yes.
And we've actually engineered the speed range of these blades to be able to basically not go to the point where you're not doing anything, but then you can slow it down to the point where you get larger chunks.
Makes total sense. There's never been a time where cannabis legalization meets engineering and the funds and the technology and everything's kind of meeting, right? Like this, the industry is still in its infancy.
It's crazy. Like when I started here 4 years ago, I think we maybe had 20 employees. Now we're over 100.
Yeah, like that. So Brent, thanks so much for showing us around Twister today, giving us all the technical in and outs of how Twister works. There's a lot of misinformation on cannabis in general within the industry, and to get the goods directly from an engineer at Twister has been much appreciated.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you for giving me the time of day to say what I've learned over the past 4 years, because there's been a lot.
Fantastic. Thank you again.
Thank you.